I felt a real identity crisis because I had associated who I was with what I did for a living.
Yeah.
And I was relatively proud of what I did.
Mhm.
And, next thing you know, I am a minimum wage night desk clerk at a flea bag hotel. And I just felt like, surely my personal value hasn't gone down.
Yeah.
So I got to find an identity that isn't associated with who will hire me.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's
What's up, Camden County? You are catching episode 55 of the Getting in Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Alison Shores from the Camden County Chamber of Commerce. This Get in Your Business podcast is made possible by our Chairman Circle sponsors, Georgia Power Company, Georgia's Own Credit Union, Lockheed, Sparklight, Plug Power, St. Mary's DDA, TDS Telecom, and Ameris Bank. Thank you to all of our sponsors. All right, today, guys, in the studio, I have somebody that I'm so excited to talk to. I have got Winfield Strock from Camden Quill.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm so excited. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
So you are one of our newest chamber members. And before we get into what Camden Quill is and how you got here, I want to know a little bit about you. How did you get to Camden County? How long have you been here? And what made you want to get into this Camden Quill?
Well, it started, I joined the Navy. I was 19 years old. I wasn't grown up enough yet, but my folks were done raising me. So
Yeah.
I figured the Navy would help,
Absolutely. Yeah.
finish me off.
Yeah.
And so I was spent 23 years in the Navy.
Oh.
And
Thank you for your service, by the way.
yeah. But after I retired from that, I felt a real identity crisis because I had associated who I was with what I did for a living.
Yeah.
And I was relatively proud of what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, next thing you know, I am a minimum wage night desk clerk at a flea bag hotel. And I just felt like, surely my personal value hasn't gone down.
Yeah.
So I got to find an identity that isn't associated with who will hire me.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's when I started taking an assessment of what my talents are, what my interests are. I was trying to find a place where both of those two intersected. So I'm like, okay, well, I daydream a lot. Is
Yeah.
there a way that that's a positive thing?
Yes.
And I'd like to say that writing has fit the bill for that. And I've read plenty of books that I've enjoyed. I've watched plenty of shows. I've seen a lot of things that I thought, man, I wish they could just do that a little different. And I
Yeah.
think if they make this little tweak, it would be better. So anyhow, yeah. So I started writing, and then I found out I had a brain tumor. And
What?
yeah, I had a brain tumor that was wrapped around my right optic nerve and was strangling it. And
Did it affect your vision?
it did.
Okay.
I mean, you can see right now, and my right eye doesn't dilate. So I go out in the sunlight, and it's just hard for me to see with my right eye. And when I step into a dark place, it just gets weird.
Okay.
But anyhow,
Okay.
so I went in for the surgery, and I had a brief coma, and then I came out, and I realized that I wasn't learning about how to write. I was just writing.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out about the Woodbine Writers Workshop.
Okay.
I went up to the Woodbine Writers Workshop. Their goal was to raise money to rebuild the theater up there. And it was a little weird because, I got up there and they're all a bunch of ladies writing their memoirs.
Yeah.
And I'm the only guy that steps
Yeah.
in, and they're like, hey, what's your deal? I'm like, well, I'm here writing my science fiction novel. And they're all like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, whatever. So yeah, I would get up there and I would share my stuff. And, half those ladies, they would just kind of be like, I can't really comment on science fiction because I don't like it. I'm like, well, it's more than that. It's does the story make sense? Do the characters make sense?
Yeah.
And my first best harsh criticism, the lady that set up the whole thing, she's a little crazy. But anyhow, so she says, I don't care about your characters. And I was so hurt at first.
Yeah.
And then she said, I don't care about your characters because I don't think you care about your characters.
Ooh.
And I'm like, what the heck? And then she says, well, this is typical. This is why I don't like science fiction, because science fiction writers fall in love with the concept. They fall in love with the technology. They fall in love with anything but the characters. And the characters are just these cardboard cutouts. And so what I learned from that was the importance of having a character connection so people can care when they win, when they lose.
Yeah.
And, I
I've never thought about that. That's
well, obviously I didn't.
But
'cause she had
that's
to
a
teach it to me.
yeah, that's a good thought. I'd never really, of course I'm not a writer, so I wouldn't. But I think that's
Oops.
awesome. Okay, so you learned a little bit from the Woodbine.
I did. And then we kind of parted ways because of some differences.
They didn't want that science fiction in there anymore.
Yeah, so I just went ahead and started my own.
Yeah, okay.
And so I started the Camden Quill, and what I wanted to do was what they were doing. I wanted to emphasize on constructive criticism, on learning more about the craft, and helping people to come together and realize that they're not. A lot of times as a writer, you think that you're alone. You think you're all by yourself. It's a solitary thing. But to find others that are going through that same journey and learn from them so you can make maybe a few less mistakes and look out for some of the obstacles that are in your way. I just think that's a good thing.
And I'm going to just say, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
no.
there was, I did not realize how many writers were in our community. So I've been on this job for 8 years, and I have met a lot of writers. Melody Bradley with the hospital, she's a writer. Lisa Bell, she's published. There's just Tracy with Veg Cook in Camden. She wanted to write her story. There's just a lot of writers here that I didn't know were that into it, that they were trying to get published and trying to really work on their craft.
Right.
So, and that's why I wanted you to come in here, because I don't think I want people that if they do write, if they are a writer or they're looking to get better or they're just want to be surrounded with other writers, we have a place for them. So, yeah.
Oh, I struggle with this conundrum. I'm like, man, how come nobody reads what I write?
Yeah.
And there's the dark part of me is like, well, you suck at doing it. And that's why, you're writing horrible stuff, so nobody cares to read it. But then this other side of me is like, well, maybe it's because you haven't tackled the process of marketing and you don't know how to market. And, a lot of times in my best moments when I think about my writing, I effectively say, if I could get these books into the hands of the people who honestly want to read what I write, they would appreciate how I told the story. So anyhow, I want to encourage people and I want to help them figure things out. You were talking about how you were surprised how many writers there are.
Yeah.
But I think that writers are a lot like football players, basketball players. I mean, everybody knows Michael Jordan, everybody knows LeBron James, but for every one of those, there are 1,000 gym teachers.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of college coaches, guys that go into other professions where their skills work.
Yeah.
But there's very few writers that get a whole lot of recognition.
Yeah. I mean, you'll hear some of them that have huge stories that, everybody falls in love with, the Harry Potter series, all the things. But now, are you helping people get published as well? Like, are you helping on the publishing side of that at all? Like, do you know people that help do that?
I do, and I've done it myself.
Okay.
So with some of my books, they've been published by small-time publishers. And with others, what I've done is I've subcontracted out the graphic design for the cover, I've subcontracted an editor, and then in the early days, I submitted a subcontract to somebody to format it. But now, I've started learning how to format it myself.
Okay.
And I've taken on some gigs where I've helped edit other people's stuff. I've edited some things for the publisher that I worked for. Okay. And I kind of enjoy all of that. But also there are local businesses, not so much here in Camden County, but I've encountered some down in Florida, and they can help in all those ways. The guy that runs the Divine Sports Card and Collectibles.
Yes, George.
Yeah,
we call him Scooter.
Yeah, he was asking me a couple of questions when we first met at one of the Chamber of Commerce things, and I was like, yeah, you can check these people out down there. And I think they're helping them out. I think that's going
awesome.
pretty well. And then I also have worked with another guest you've had on, and that's R.J. Chapman.
Yeah. I was actually on his podcast. He let me get on his podcast. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he and I met at a TED Talk event.
Oh, okay.
I did one of the ladies that's part of the Camden Quill. She had heard me tell my story hundreds of times to dozens of new people that would come, and she's like, that's a TED Talk, you should give a TED Talk. And I kept saying no. And then finally she sent me an application for it, and I got a hold of her. I said, we need to meet. And so we had a cup of coffee, and I was like, why do you think I need to put in for this? She said, well, I think you need to tell your story. And I'm like, well, what story? And then I'm just kind of like, you mean the story about this and this and this and this? And she's like, exactly. I'm like, okay. So I put in for it. I ended up, I applied, and then they took me on, and that's where I met RJ. We did the TED Talk in Eustis, and man, he is just aglow
He
with
is.
positivity.
He is.
And his TED Talk, I talked to him about my writers group, the Camden Quill. I invited him. I said, look, I think your TED Talk would make a great book to inspire teachers and students to work together to make education better between the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
And so we worked together a little bit on that, and he's found a publicist. I think he's working for them, and I'm super, super happy for him, super proud of what he does.
Yeah.
He's now president of
Toastmasters? Yeah.
down in North Jacks. And it makes me wonder, especially with some of the businesses we have in the area, why we don't have a Toastmasters here. I know I'm getting off subject.
You are. We got to get back on Camden Quill, but we do need a Toastmasters here. I didn't even know really about that until I was talking to RJ, and he was telling me about, telling his stories and those things. So it's really cool. Now, how often do you guys meet at Camden Quill?
We meet once a month, and I send the invite out via the Facebook page that we belong to. It's a private group right now. That's a recent change, and then has a lot to do with the fact that some of our up-and-coming writers are concerned that as they're sharing portions of their manuscript on this Facebook page, that they're going to leak out, and so the not so perfect version of it is going to get out there before the published version is.
Gotcha. So it's a private group. So it is on Facebook.
It is.
Now, do you have any, I know you've been trying to schedule some book signings and stuff, and I think you have one coming up at Deep Dive Games. Is that correct?
I do. It's on the 17th.
Okay.
I'm super excited to do it there. To me, Deep Dive Games is kind of hearkening back to the days before I was writing.
Yeah.
And I was using all my creative energies in the gaming that you can see there at Deep Dive Games.
I love Deep Dive Games. They're great people. Braden, I told you, he's going to join our board soon. So we're excited about that.
Well, it's amazing to see, veterans turn around and take something that I'm sure that they enjoyed while they were in. And like, I'm going to do the same for the generations after. I think that's
But he had to find out, what he was going to do when he left the Navy and what his identity was. So, I think that that's a struggle that a lot of people go through. What can we do after the Navy, or what do you want to do, or what, where are your passions, because I think military, y'all, when y'all go in, y'all are all in, and that's your passion, that's your thing. It's defending America and all the things. And so I think coming out and having something is amazing. And I'm glad that you found this and then decided, you know what, let's make it a group. Let's talk to people and get people on this. And I just think it's really cool. Now, what time is your book signing on the 17th?
I'm going to get there about the time they open, so I'll be there from noon until 8.
Okay.
And we'll see how that goes.
Yes, you'll have to let us know. Now, was there anything else that you wanted to say about Camden Quill? That's a loaded question because you probably want to talk all about it. But
well,
sorry for putting you on the spot.
Not necessarily about the quill, but about the purpose behind the quill that is behind a lot of things. And that is, when I'm at the grocery store, when I'm at a restaurant, when I'm anywhere where I feel like somebody is not exactly, feeling it where they're working. And I'm like, I see myself as that night desk clerk at that Fleabag Motel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, what do you do that you're passionate about? What do you do that makes you feel like you're really doing something? And a lot of times I'm like, I don't know. I do this, I do that. And I'm like, man, I think you need to find something.
Yeah.
I think you need to find an identity outside of your paycheck that helps drive you forward, that helps get you up. I mean, I worked for the defense industry after I got out of the Navy. And there were a lot of times when people are like, man, this is kind of a boring job. And I'm like, it is. But one, it's the best job I've ever had. And two, it makes it so I can afford to do what I love to do.
Yeah. I love that. I love it so much. Now, how can people get a hold of you as far as, if they're interested in joining Camden Quill, or maybe just interested in talking to you more about it? How can they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Well, there's a author Winfield Strock Facebook page.
Okay.
And they can DM me on that, and I'll see what I can do to get them. I'll get them invited to the group, and they can come on out. We're actually trying to go to new locations here in the area, especially since I've joined the Chamber of Commerce. I've found that there's some really neat places that are ideal for our kind of meetings. We've been meeting at the Super Sweet Bakery Shop.
Oh, That's a lovely place to,
Oh,
to
my gosh.
meet.
Best snickerdoodles in the county.
Listen, she's got homemade Pop-Tarts. I'm like, what? Yes, it's amazing. Go ahead.
But it's practically right behind my house.
Yeah, okay.
And it's nice and quiet. And they're just super sweet folks.
Yeah. Now, are y'all meeting on a monthly basis or?
We are.
Okay.
We are. We had a spell where we didn't, and I think that had to do with the fact that we really didn't have a whole lot of writers that were writing. And that's one of the things that blows my mind about writers. I had read somewhere that there is a series of questions you can ask anybody who says they want to be a writer. And at each one of those questions, the number of people that want to write drops in half.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard. Like I'm not a writer.
Well, it's hard and it's easy.
I hear you. I hear you. But like for me, I would never be able to edit and do all those things. Like if I could just write.
and that's I'm trying to work on, because I'd heard this guy talk about these questions. I'm like, well, where are these questions? So I'm trying to come up with my own list of questions so I can help people figure out. Because the thing is some people, they have a book in them. They want to tell about a specific story in their life or something they experienced. And then there are other people that don't want to write book after book after book. And those are the people that I feel that the Camden Quill is really best suited for, because if you've got one book in you, you can work that out.
Yeah.
You can find a mentor, you can find a publicist, you can find somebody that can help get your one manuscript into the book of your life, if you will. But if you're looking to do it as a regular, continuous thing, then you need to learn what do you want to pay for and what do you want to learn to do yourself? Because you're going to pay one way or the other, either in time and effort and education or in money.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Well, that is a lot of information, and I am just glad you stopped by and shared it with all of us. I hope you guys will reach out to Win on Facebook. It's Winfield Strock, and I guess you have your Facebook, the author page.
Yes.
Both of those. Okay. So reach out to Winfield if you need anything to do with writing, no matter what you're writing, whether it's a children's book, whether it's, a novel, whatever it is, please reach out to Camden Quill and Winfield Strock. Thank you guys for listening. You have caught episode 55 of the Get In Your Business podcast.